Welcome to the Femininja Project. I am your host, Cheryl I Love, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the Femininja Project. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Femininja Project. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you tuning in. And as you know, we're all about empowerment on the Femininja Project, and empowerment comes in a lot of different ways. It's not just the way you carry yourself. It's not just being able to protect yourself. It's about having a very successful business, a successful lifestyle, and we consider all aspects of life here on the show. We have a fantastic guest with us today. I'm happy to call her a friend, and her name is Mary Gaul, often called the Mary Gaul in the circles that she runs around in. She is a speaker, an author, a business coach, leader, community builder, and the owner of Success Magnified, as well as The Gift of Time, which, boy, we can all use a little bit more of that, can't we? And the creator of the Magic Meal Planner. Mary, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
You are so welcome. I'm so delighted to be here and talking to you, Cheryl. I'm just so happy. We always have great conversations, and I'm really delighted to see what shows up today.
Well, it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Yes.
And I just wanted the audience to know, I did, introduce you as a business coach, and Mary, I have got to tell you, she is a fantastic business coach. I've known you, Mary, for a couple of years now. We've been in and out different groups and stuff, but I just recently hired you to help me build my business as I relaunch opening my office and working with clients online. And it has been absolutely fantastic. I have enjoyed every bit of it. You have so much to offer people. And, I've worked with other business coaches before, but after getting off the phone with you for even just a brief 30 minutes, it was like I had so much information and so much direction. So thank you. I just wanted to get that out right at the very start. Thank you so much for empowering me to go forward with this business.
You are welcome. You are welcome. I absolutely love what I do, and I love getting to work with so many entrepreneurs and help them. Just take those few little tweaks sometimes can make the world of difference in what they're doing. So I am so delighted to be able to work with you and all the other entrepreneurs I get to work with, because it's just so much fun for me to get my fingers in a bunch of little entrepreneurial minds, and be able to help them.
It's really funny because it's obvious that you love what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I do.
You can see it. I mean, even when you're facilitating a group, which I think would be kind of difficult and a little overwhelming for me, and you work it, you get everybody involved and everybody engaged. So it's just an amazing, amazing gift that you have.
Yes, it's one that I didn't really recognize as a gift until about 5 or 6 years ago, but I have had this my whole life. I'm one of 8 children. I'm the 7th of 8, so I'm towards the bottom, although there's a break in between me and my oldest brother, and then there's my younger sister and I. We're the little girls. So even though I'm the tallest of all my sisters, I'm still one of the little girls, right? So, but I have always been able to herd my big family around, so when it comes to facilitating things and making things happen and organizing things, I did that even as a young child, and with my friend groups growing up in high school and everything. So it's one of those talents where, you don't realize it's a talent, that not everybody can do it until you really take time to focus on what's unique about yourself. And then you're like, oh, not everybody does that well or can do that, do the things that I do naturally. And so I appreciate you mentioning that, because it's one of the things I love to do, and I just do it naturally. And so it's not something I have to think about, which is fantastic for an entrepreneur to fall into that, something that they love to do and can do well.
Mm-hmm. I find that so interesting that you're taking charge of the family and helping to organize, although you're, the 7th child out of 8, so the next
Yes.
is the youngest. Did you get any resistance about that when you would try and take over or organize, or were they like, thank God someone's taking control of all of this chaos?
We're yeah, we're all pretty strong personalities, if you will, but they do tend to. For some reason, I'm able to say, okay, let's do it this way. I do build consensus. I try to build consensus where possible within strong personalities, right? And making sure we're all on the same page moving forward. But yes, there hasn't really been much resistance as adults anyway. You know, they typically will say, "Hey, Mary, can you organize this?" So it's like, yeah, sure. So it's something that they've recognized in me as well.
So there you were, this young girl growing up in this really, really, really big family and doing these organizations, organizing all the activities and stuff. Did you see yourself actually in a position where you would be an entrepreneur and have your own business? How did that come about?
I did not plan to be an entrepreneur growing up.
Mhm.
My dad had his own business, and my mom went and worked for him when we were old enough, when the kids enough kids were out of the house. And I saw the stress that that put on them, and I wanted no part of that. You know, I wanted to travel the world when I was growing up. I lived in a small town in Kansas, and so I was a foreign exchange student growing up. I got out of the country and I was like, oh, I want to be a travel agent. So I went to college for a couple of years and then went and got my travel agent certification. This is way before the internet. And when you had to actually go to a travel agent to book a ticket. And I did that for a year and a half and then I moved to Denver. And, you know, while I was at the travel agency, I was 20, between 20 and 21 that year. And I was planning and organizing and taking retired farmers and their wives on these like 10-day bus trips around the country. So, I mean, it's just been a part of who I am. I've just always loved to do that kind of thing. And so, but when I moved to Colorado in 1989, I thought, oh, I'm going to go work for the airlines. I'm going to be in this big city. You know, they have lots of travel things. And then, you know, life doesn't work out that way. I ended up getting a corporate job. And quickly, everywhere I worked in the corporate world, I would start out as the front desk person or the receptionist, entry level job, right? And then I would soon become the person who ran the office, right? So I just have the ability to pick up things quickly and see how everything fits together. And I still wasn't thinking that I would put that skill to use in my own business. And through a series of corporate jobs, then I ended up running a law firm for about 10 years and did everything but practice law there. So I did all the IT, again, starting out as a part-time receptionist when my kids were little and then grew it to literally anything that wasn't legal went through me at the law firm. And so I realized after 10 years, I had grown that position to as big as I could get it without becoming a paralegal or a lawyer, which wasn't on my radar either. And I had some friends that were in a mastermind with me, and they convinced me that I should have my own business. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? No, I don't want to do that. But I didn't really want to go get another job either at another law firm or another corporate office. So I thought about it for a while. I talked to my husband about it, and this I had somebody give me great advice. Which, if you're going through any kind of life change, start asking yourself the question, "I wonder."
Mm.
It's an amazing question. So simple. I wonder, you know, what my next job's going to be. I wonder what kind of people I'm going to get to work with. I wonder if I'll have to commute. I wonder if I'll drive downtown. I wonder what my office will look like. I just started asking myself I wonder questions, and the same thing kept popping up in most random places, like the virtual assistant. And this was in 2013. So it was kind of, you know, before the internet was around, but it wasn't a big thing, as big as it is now. And social media wasn't as big as it is now. But this, I kept seeing it like in magazine articles, and it would come across in a newsletter or something about a virtual assistant. And so I was like, that keeps showing up. Let me explore that further. So I explored that and I decided to start my own company. I was like, I could do that for a business, right? It's helping people with a variety of projects and getting things done. I've always been a person who gets things done. And so I launched that business, which is The Gift of Time, in August of 2013. And I left the law firm and I had clients. Luckily, I had clients right away before I left the law firm. And thought, this is great. I love it. I get to work on a variety of projects. I'm a creative person. I like having variety in my life and being creative and solving problems and getting things done. So I was like, this is the perfect business for me. And, took classes through the SBA downtown and learned what I needed to do to set up a business, and everything was fine. And then at about month 6 or 7, I realized I was just burning out. I was lucky to have great clients, but I at the same time was doing everything myself, as most entrepreneurs start out doing, right? And I had just replaced my corporate job with multiple boss jobs, right? Without the benefits, without the regular paycheck. So, which is a learning lesson almost every entrepreneur has to go through, especially if you come from the corporate world into your own entrepreneurship. It's a mindset shift of, I'm not just doing this work for a boss. I need to be in control of things, right? And so I had helped other people run their businesses in operations and management. I've done marketing, communications, but I'd never done my own business before, and it is different. So I realized I needed some help because I couldn't grow. I was having to turn away clients. I was at capacity. I was like, I can't take on another project for anybody. And that's not a way to grow your business. So I joined a peer advisory board with some gentlemen here in town and started taking some courses called the Pinnacle Success courses. And during that time, it really helped me just talk to other entrepreneurs, because I'd never really been in around other entrepreneurs who were running their own business before. So just talking about what their experiences are and how, their ups and their downs and things to watch out for and lessons they've learned. And then taking the courses, it helped me to realize my pinnacle gift, like I mentioned at the beginning, right? My gift is to be able to facilitate conversations, to be able to see the big picture and then map out the little details of and how to get things done, and then stay accountable to those details. And so once I realized that, and then it helped me reconfigure some of my offerings and hire my first contractors with the gift of time, so that I could keep taking on clients, but I didn't have to do all the work, right? Which is a big mindset shift for most entrepreneurs too, is we don't have to do all the work if you can find the right people and the right things to offload that only somebody else can do that, and you keep the things that only you can do in your business. So the people that I was on the peer advisory board. They hired me as a virtual assistant to help set up their communication systems and kind of set up the back end of their business. And so in doing that, I really got to see their coaching model. And again, coaching was not something that was on my radar. It was not something I said, I'm going to go be a business coach. But I had learned so much from them. And then when they decided to license their materials, I was like, yes, I want to be able to teach this to other people, because it made such a dramatic impact on me and on the other people on my peer advisory board and people I knew that were coaching with these gentlemen. So I got certified to teach their methods and run peer advisory boards, and started Success Magnified, which is my coaching and consulting business, which lets me get to use that creative, big picture thinking and be a resource to people, like yourself, like entrepreneurs who are out there. They have a service to offer. They want to offer that to their clients, and they just need some help sometimes with the back end business pieces, or just to have a thought partner to bounce ideas off of, or get a second set of eyes on things. So I love doing that. And so in the last 5 years, so 5.5 years now, Success Magnified has been doing just that. So I work with the small business owners, solopreneurs primarily, and really they're out there on their own trying to make things happen. And I've been there, done that. So, I can relate. And because I get to talk to so many people, I get to help bring the ideas that everybody's trying and synthesize that information and share it then with my clients and make it, if it's appropriate for their situation. So I absolutely love working with entrepreneurs and getting to do what I do and use my gifts and my talents in a way that, helps somebody else.
So I can't believe it's only
That
been
was a long answer.
It was very complete.
Good.
But I can't believe it's only been 5.5 years since you started your business, because it
Yeah.
seems like I mean, I've seen you so much on social media and just, different networking groups. I mean, it's like you're everywhere, and especially loving the fact that you are known as the Mary Gaul. So
Yes.
everybody, that's how we address Mary Gaul. But what
Yes.
I'd like for you to talk about just a little bit, touch on the benefit of being in a peer advisory board group, because I just recently joined one of
Yes.
your peer advisory boards. And I mean, the value of doing that, because I always knew something was missing. I needed, I'll call it a vitamin B shot, but that
Yeah.
segues right into vitamin
Right.
C, and we can talk about the C's.
Yes.
So talking, once I felt like energized, my brain kind of started to chug again in a way that it wasn't when I was trying to figure things out on my own. So if
Yeah.
you could just talk about the value of a peer advisory board and kind of like, how you run one, or, the benefits and that type of thing, I'd love that.
Yes, yes. So, I call them peer advisory boards. They go by many names, mastermind groups, all kinds of things, success circles, power circles. But there's all there. If you go back to the book Think and Grow Rich, which was written over 100 years ago now, right? They talk about, because I think it was published in 1929, maybe, so about 100 years. But he talks about all of these wealthy people had these groups, and they called them mastermind groups, right? And so they would get together with their peers. So these are very successful, high level entrepreneurs, and they would get together with their peers and be able to bounce ideas off of each other. Even Benjamin Franklin used to have a thing, I think they called it the juntas. And so he would host these, gatherings of people, and to just talk about ideas and how to grow the country at that point. We were a young country. So the idea is nothing new. I certainly didn't invent it or create it, but it is the power of coming together with people who are in a like-minded situation. So we're all have the same goal, right? We all want to grow our business and serve our clients, and coming together and having open discussions. What I love about the peer advisory boards and what I love about leading them is I've created a safe space for people to come and be vulnerable about what's really happening in their business, because you can't go to a networking group and say, oh, I just lost my biggest client and I'm not sure how to move forward, or I'm overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed, and I don't know how to move forward, or I need a new software. And, because you want people to give you referrals. So you can't really do that in a networking group. So at a peer advisory board, you can come and ask those kind of questions of other people who are running a business as well, and tap into their knowledge. There's a quote by Woodrow Wilson that I use all the time, and it says, I use all the brains I have and all the brains I can borrow. Because I think we can just learn so much more from people's experience. And so if each person out there just looks at their own life and the lessons they've learned through their own life, and if you can share that with one other person, imagine how much better the world would be, right? You can save somebody else the heartache, the learning experience, and help them get ahead for faster, further. So I just love that. And so we meet for 3 hours once a month, and it's a small group. So mine are 7 women and myself, because when I had an office before COVID, I had a table and it would only seat 8 people. So there were 7 seats plus mine, right? So that's why I just kept them at that number. But I like that small group because it is intimate enough where you can be vulnerable. People get to know you as a person, as a human being, as an entrepreneur, and it's big enough where you have a collection of ideas bouncing back and forth. And we work on, we celebrate wins and successes, which again, as entrepreneurs, it's so easy not to notice what's going right in your business, because we're bombarded with what's not working. What are you not doing? How come you're not doing this? Why aren't you on this social media? Why didn't you post that blog last week? Where that negative chatter happens on its own. But the stopping and celebrating each other's successes with people who understand what it took to get there. It's different when you tell your husband or your girlfriends, oh, I got a new client today, or I wrote my blog, or I finally got my newsletter out. They're like, great, good job, right? But when you say it to another group of entrepreneurs who really understands what it took to make that happen, the celebration is different, and it's a different level. And I just love being a part of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And helping people recognize that they do have something to celebrate. They are making progress, even if it doesn't feel like it some months where we come together and people are like, oh, should I just go get a job? We all have those days, right?
Mhm.
So having a peer advisory board, a safe space to come and say, Starbucks is looking really good right now. I'm just going to go work at Starbucks. And, we've all been there and we've all done that. And so having other people to lift you back up and get you refocused and remotivated is so powerful. It's such a fun thing to be a part of. And I love facilitating them.
For those people who are listening and have never had to do something like a newsletter, I am here to tell you that was probably the bane of my existence for many, 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 many months when I first started doing one. And it was, it was just almost like birthing. I mean, it was just horrible,
Yeah.
so painful to be able to get out one stinking silly newsletter. And now, of course, it's a piece of cake. Um,
Right.
but the other thing I really love about your peer advisory boards, and it kind of surprised me a little bit at first, but it makes perfect sense that you also talk about what's going on in everybody's personal life, because what's going on in your personal life really does impact your business and how you run your business, and helping you to get through some of the bumps in the roads of life.
Yes. Yeah. We are whole human beings and we bring our whole human beingness to everything we do, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like we can just separate our family life from our business all the time. And so if something big is happening in your family life, sometimes we have to talk about it in the peer advisory boards. It's not meant for that, but it does come in. And if it does, if somebody needs to talk about that and share around that, then everybody is supportive because we all have been there and we recognize that in each other. So that is thank you for mentioning that, because it is a part of what we do. We do form a bond with each other, and to be that true support, you need to know everything about the person, right? What they're struggling with.
Mhm. And I alluded to a few minutes ago, about the vitamin B shot is what I
Hmm.
felt like when I was done
Yeah.
with that the first meeting that I went to. And that leads me from a vitamin B to vitamin C.
Yay. Nice segue. Very well done.
Thank you. I worked on that.
Yes.
So tell us about your book, because you've got a book. It's a
Yes.
business book, and it's a little different than most business models. And I just
Yeah.
absolutely love it. I've got it upstairs. Well, actually, I have two
Thank you.
copies. One's upstairs and one's down here in
Yes.
Barrel Cave. So tell us about your book.
Good. Yes, I have a copy here. I love it. It's just such a fun and happy book. So it's called Vitamin C3 for Business, and it's 52 ideas to connect, contribute, and celebrate your way to success. Um, I I took some time as a person who's always like on the treadmill, getting stuff done. Everything I do has a purpose, right? I had a friend challenge me to take some time to do some creative writing.
Hmm.
And he's a creative writer, writes novels and beautiful stories and poetry. And I was like, okay, whatever. But I agreed. I was like, we'll do it for 6 months. We ended up doing it for a year. Like, we met every Monday in a coffee shop and we'd do like 20-minute writing sprints, and then we'd read it to each other. And, we had random topics we'd pick out of an envelope. And I thought at the beginning, I thought, this is such a waste of time. Oh my gosh, why am I just wasting this hour being creative, right? What's the point of that? and so, but what came out of that was this book. I learned multiple things, but I learned that I cannot write fiction stories, because I would start in a scene with a conversation and then pretty soon it's just one person doing a monologue. So I just like monologues. So I was like, no, I don't think I can do conversations. But what kept coming up in whatever our prompts were those three words, connection and celebration and contribution. And they just kept showing up in all of these different stories. And I was like, there's got to be some reason those words keep showing up. And then I had this idea. It's like, well, that's how I show up, right? That's what I do on the boards. The peer advisory boards are all about connect, contribute, and celebrate with each other. And so I thought, well, I'll just make a book for other business owners that don't have those ideas. So it's really simple. If you know me at all, I like simple things that you can actually implement
Mhm.
right away. So it's a flip through book. You flip through, you pick a page, and then you can read that one little thing and hopefully implement it that week.
Mhm.
So it was a really fun project, and I love the book. I love what it stands for, and I really think, again, connect. We all need to connect on different levels, celebrate, or contribute is the second C,
Mhm.
and then celebrate with each other is so important, and we just don't take the time to celebrate enough, either with ourselves or with each other. So
So basically, you really weren't wasting your time on those Mondays when you would
I
meet your friend at the coffee shop.
I really wasn't. I really wasn't. But it takes, sometimes to allow ourselves something that feels indulgent
Yeah.
in our lives, it takes a mindset shift again, right? Because I was like, Monday mornings, I should be cracking down. Monday mornings are for getting stuff done, getting through my email. And it's like, I wouldn't look at my email until noon on Mondays. It's like, because I would go do this writing thing in the morning. It's like,
Oh
what?
man.
That's not a typical Monday morning for everybody, right? So I felt very guilty almost for taking that time. But then the book came out of it, and then I sometimes miss those creative writing spells, just taking time to really sit down and just write something for the fun of it, instead of always having to have a purpose of this is for a blog, or this is a social media post, or this is for a course, or whatever, it is. But I typically write things that make me happy anyway, so it all works out.
But is that your first book or is that your second book?
It's my second book. It's my
Okay.
second book. So the first book is called The Guests Are Here, and it's helpful hints for easy, enjoyable entertaining. Can you tell I like alliteration? And
Yes.
so this book came about because I mentioned at the beginning that I always kind of herded my family. We were a big family who celebrated a lot of things anyway, but we always had big family gatherings, and always had friends over. And as soon as I could start hosting my own events, I started hosting dinner parties and that kind of thing. And I just picked up a lot of tips along the way. And so this is another tips book for people who don't necessarily like to entertain, or haven't entertained in their own home before. This is obviously pre-COVID. This book came out in 2014, so it's been out for a while, but it's got a collection of recipes in it. There's a fun chapter called Awkward, which is, what to do at a party if things get awkward as the host. What do you need to do? Like if the toilet backs up, or somebody drinks too much and can't drive home, or, just all those fun little party things. But there's some fun things in here. And there's one thing we actually just talked about it with my daughter. She's in college, and she got invited to go to a luncheon this week and represent her company. And so I was like, ooh, a big luncheon with a big table, and I said, don't forget your B&D. And she's like, I know, Mom, B&D. And my husband's like, what does that mean? And I said, oh, you make this, and this makes the letter B, that means that's your bread plate. And the D, this is your water glass, your drink glass. So when they're all kind of in a circle and you're not sure, is that my plate or is this my plate? Everything's crowded. So B&D, there's your tips. So that's in the book. Little tips like that are in this book. And recipes, there's, recipes. And then my husband and I and some friends of ours created a supper club where we get together once a month. And we've been doing that since our kids were little, and they're now in their 20s. So there's tips in here about how to start your own supper club and that kind of thing. So I just think it's, again, a way to connect and celebrate with each other over a meal. You can really form strong bonds, and you get to know people when you're eating a meal in their home and sharing yourself, being open and vulnerable and contributing to each other. So there comes those C words again: connect, contribute, and celebrate. It's been a part of who I am.
Well, I think this book actually is really important right now and is about to make a big explosion and a big comeback, because now that we're starting to come out of COVID, I can see how awkward is definitely going to be an issue, because it feels really weird okay, so now I can go to somebody's house, now I can sit at a table, and it's been so long since I've put on pants with zippers. Little silly things like that you just kind of have to prepare for. I don't know. I think I told you how it was just a few months ago, I ended up doing a podcast recording in my bathrobe.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, that's a long story. Yeah, it was, talk about awkward, but I got confused with the time change. I was talking to a woman from Frankfurt, Germany, and I thought, it was scheduled for 11 o'clock. That's what the computer said. And so I would believe the computer. And at 10 o'clock, I get a message. It's like, I'm here in your waiting room. And I thought, oh my God, it was an hour earlier. I had no makeup on. I hadn't even washed my face. I had my robe, my bathrobe. And I thought, there's only two ways I can deal with this. I can either say, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to reschedule, or just suck it up. So it's like, okay, I'll be right there, running late. And I just had to run down here, get everything set up, because I was not prepared at all. And when I signed on, I said, before I turn on the video, I want you to know. And I told her, I said, got confused with the time. I'm in my bathrobe. She busts out laughing. And I said, but it's okay. I am
Yeah.
wearing pants.
Okay, good, good.
So we were good. So I turned
Got
on the
that covered.
video and, we recorded the whole thing. But the funniest part was she was going to have me on her show the next day, and it was live. It was a Facebook Live.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I texted her a couple of times. Okay, it's in 2 hours, right? Okay, it's in 1 hour.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I wasn't going to show up on Facebook
Showing up
Live.
in clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, not going to be in my bathrobe. So anyhow, that's just a little aside.
Nice.
So once
Yeah.
again, just tell us the title of that book.
Yes. So it is called The Guests Are Here, Helpful Hints for Easy, Enjoyable Entertaining.
And we're really going to underline the chapter on awkward.
Yes. It's
So
pre-COVID, way pre-COVID,
way
because
pre-COVID. Yeah,
yeah,
no
but you can
kidding.
figure that out. Yes.
Okay, but you also now you have created a new a program or a product. It is the Magic Meal Plan or the Magic Meal Planner, and
Yeah.
it sounds fantastic. And another thing that I think is very needed right now, because after everyone has been cooking their own meals in their own home for the past year, that
Mhm.
we probably need a few ideas. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yes. So this is something again I grew up doing since I've been out on my own anyway, and have always made a menu for the week of what I'm going to eat for meals. And my kids grew up doing that, seeing me do it. Now they both do it. You know, if you go to either one of their homes, you'll see on the refrigerator the meals for the week and the grocery list.
Wow.
And so it's one of those things again, because you just do it all the time. You don't realize that not everybody does things that way, right? And not that everybody has to do things the way I do them, but it can help a lot of people. So last year during COVID, I had a friend who's a designer. Because I used to just do it on a piece of paper. And so I had her come up with this magic meal planner. And so it's got your menus on one side, or the days of the week on one side, and then it's got a grocery list by department on the other. So it's not an app, it's not a digital anything. It's an actual good old fashioned piece of paper and a pen that you
Ooh.
use, and come up with what your meals are for the week, and then you write down what you need to make those meals. You go to the store or you go online and order those groceries, and then you fold it in three, and then it just has your menu for the week. So you clip that on your refrigerator, and then everybody knows, because one of the questions that drives me crazy is what's for dinner. And so everybody knows, oh, it's Tuesday, we're having meatloaf or whatever it is, right? So it's just a simple system, and I've put together some things I've learned over the years about how to look at what's in your pantry, what's in your freezer, how can you reuse things, and how to make the most out of your grocery dollars
Mm.
and the most out of your time, so that when you get to the end of a long day on Zoom and your husband walks in the room and says, what's for dinner? You don't have to look at him and say, I don't know, what do you want for dinner? Right? And then you start the 20-minute, I don't know, what do you want? Do we want Chinese? Do we want to take out? Do we want to have cereal? Or, what do we got in their fridge? Then it's just too much stress at the end of a long day. So it just eases your brain from having to make that decision. You make it once, and then you know for the whole week what you're having. And people are like, oh, I'm tired of cooking. It's like, well, you don't have to cook every night. You can put in there, we're going out on
Mhm.
Thursday night, right? Or leftovers on Saturday or whatever. You don't have to cook every night, but at least there's a plan for what you've bought, and you've invested this money and this time in buying these groceries, right? So instead of letting them rot in your refrigerator because you weren't sure what to do with them, now you have a plan, and you're only buying what you need. So it does really save you a lot of money in the long run as well.
So I have to go back to the brain. That just takes me back to your favorite saying from, what was it? Who is it? Woodrow
Yeah,
Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson.
And
Yeah.
say that, give me that quote again.
So I not only use all the brains I have, but all that I can borrow.
Excellent. So
Mhm.
everybody, if you want to borrow a little bit of Mary's brain, boy, you've got some wonderful opportunities
Yeah,
here. You've
yeah.
got the book, Vitamin C3 for Business, and she's got The Guests Are Here, the helpful hints for easy, enjoyable entertaining, and of course, she's got her Magic Meal Planner. So how can people get a hold of you, Mary?
Yeah, the best way is through my website, which is successmagnified.com. So successmagnified.com.
Mhm.
They can find the resources there with for links for all of the things you mentioned above. If you're a business owner and you want to have a 30-minute focus session with me just to talk about what's going on in your business, there's a link on my website to book a 30-minute free focus session with me.
Mhm.
You can sign up for my newsletter, which is in transition, but it's because I'm switching programs this week, but it'll be back next week. And it's called Fab Fridays.
Mhm.
So they can do that on my website as well. And Fab stands for Fun Action Business. So there's always something fun and entertaining and a little business action tip you can take every Friday. And then that's another way on my newsletter that it keeps you informed of things I've got going on if I'm doing a course or I'm, speaking somewhere or doing a conference or something, then you can find out that information there. And also on the website, there's a resources page, and you can find some free downloadable tools that I have there. And that's where the link to the Magic Meal Planner will be, or you can go to magicmealplan.com.
Mhm.
And there is a fun little download I did on the resources page called the 10 must stock items in your pantry and 5 go-to recipes you can make from those things. So if you're just looking inside, you open your cabinet every day and you're like, I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. So look at that, and you can do the free download and then grab that and know you always have 5 things you can make if you keep those things stocked.
So I got to go back to some of the names that you pick because they
I
really
know.
truly are creative. And I just wonder how you do that. Do you just wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, oh my gosh, I've got this great idea. I better get up and write it down.
Yeah, as you can tell, I do like alliteration. So things that
Mhm.
have Magic Meal Planner, easy, enjoyable, entertaining, vitamin C3. So, I like things that come in threes, and I like things that have alliteration to them. And yeah, it's just sometimes they're downloaded in the morning, and it's like, oh, here's what I'm going to write about. That's how the first book came about. Was I just woke up early one morning and it's like, oh, I could write a book about throwing dinner parties. So then I had all the chapters lined out, and then it was just a matter of actually writing them out. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just part of the fun part is getting to name things, and then that's the easy part for me too, right? And then it's the work to build them and market them and do all of those other steps. But the fun part for me is naming them.
Well, it's like I get it all the time with my book, The Forever Fit and Flexible. It's like there's a lot
Yeah,
of F's in that title.
yeah,
Feeling fabulous. It's like, but it works for me. And it just,
right,
people don't forget. Well, they do forget sometimes, but they remember, all the F's.
right. Yeah, yes.
So do you have any last minute, like pearls of wisdom, advice, or tips, or anything you want to share with the audience?
Um, well, I'll tell you what's written up here on my whiteboard, which was something that it was a message that kept coming through in almost every conversation I had last week.
Uh-huh.
So when I start to hear those things over and over again, whether I'm hearing it from somebody or I'm telling it to somebody, it just this theme was from last week, so it's still up on my whiteboard. And it's basically you are enough and you have everything you need.
Oh.
So hopefully that resonates with whoever needs to hear that message, but you are enough and you have everything you need. So go out and get started with whatever you're trying to do.
Oh, that's a great note to end on. Mary, thank you so much for being here. It has been wonderful having you on the show, and I really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yes, my pleasure, Cheryl. Thank you again for having me.
And everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. And remember to connect, contribute, and celebrate. And remember to just kind of get out there and try something new and get creative, and check out Mary's website. Make sure you check out her Magic Meal Planner, and the guests are here. I think we're all going to need a little bit of help as we come out
Yeah,
of COVID and start to meet in person and to get social again, because,
yes,
oh, and the other thing is, remember to wear your pants with a zipper.
yes,
And whenever you show up, do not show up in your bathrobe, because that is a little awkward.
yes. That is awkward. Yes.
And that is the way of the Femininja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the Femininja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.